Hey, on this lesson, we're going to learn how to use Meteor methods so you can safely send data to our server side. We're going to learn how to load data using publications, and we will understand a bit more about the real-time fundamentals in Meteor. So let's get started. So this is how we finished our last lesson. So our app was not working anymore. We could not insert any contact. We could even try something here just to remember. And I will try to save it and nothing happens. We cannot see the contacts that we have added before. So this happened because we removed two packages. We entered on this file, on the packages file that is inside .meteor, and we removed the insecure and auto-publish. And that's why it's not working anymore. So we will understand what is going on here. I will actually put back the auto-publish package just for a moment. So if I run meteor add auto-publish, that should add again this file to our project. We can even check right here. Meteor will detect that and reload our application. So, okay, it is added and it is here. So now we can see the contacts. So we will leave like this for the moment because we will understand first the insecure package that is related to how we send data, how we insert the contact, and I won't put back the insecure package. So what is happening is if we open our console in the browser, we will be able to see the error. So I will try again to add a new contact because now we can see the contacts right here. And if I do that, we will get an error. So it's saying that insert failed, access denied. So we don't have access anymore. So how we fix that? Because with the insecure package, we were inserting the contact in the mini-mongo. So if you remember, when we saw the lesson, what is Meteor, we learned about mini-mongo. What we were doing here on this code was to insert the data in the mini-mongo on the client side, and then that data was propagated to the backend, to MongoDB on the server side. So we're not able to do that anymore. Okay, so to fix that, we need to move this function, this functionality to the backend. Only the backend will be able to talk to the database because this is the safe way of building real apps. With the things that we learned, how could we do that? It is really important to understand the structure of our project. So if you remember, we have this server folder with the main.js file, and this is the entry point of our application. So this is on the server, right? And we also have, we are importing here this contacts collection on the server side. So if we open this file, we can even open the folder that is the imports API. So what if we create a new file here and we add that functionality to this API folder? So let's do that. I will create a new file called contacts methods because I will put all my methods related to the contacts on this file. So .js, and let me go back to the contact form. So what I need to do is to move this to the server side. So I will first copy this and just comment it out, and then I will move to here. So how should I do that? We need a function, right, on the server side. So maybe I could create a function here called insert, and then I call the contacts collection like we were doing before. So I just pasted here. We could receive this on the parameters, and we could return the result of this function call. Okay, so that maybe makes sense. But how can we import a function that is on the server side? How could we call it on the client side? So there's no way to do that. So what we need to do is to create a Meteor method. So we are going to use a function called Meteor methods. And this function, it receives an object with the methods that we want to add to it. So instead of doing just like this, we would do it like this. Insert, and then I can remove this, and I also can fix this, because I just need to pass a key that is the name of the function, the parameters, and this is actually the function itself. So the parameters and the curly brackets. On this way, we are calling this function, we are passing a function to the Meteor methods, and this will be available globally. So we will be able to call it on the client side. So I think our function is actually ready on the server side, and I will go back to the contact form, and now we should be able to call that method. So how we do that? Again, we have a function called Meteor call, and it is better to import Meteor right here, because then we will have the competition from WebStorm. So from Meteor dash Meteor. Okay. So now once we start typing, we can see that we have this Meteor call, and we can see that we have a name and then arguments. So this is how we call it. We pass, which is the name of that function. We name it insert. And actually, I think that's not a good name, because we might have a lot of other methods, and just calling it insert, we will have some conflicts, right? Because we might have insert method for payments, for instance. So instead of just insert, I will call it contacts.insert. And as this is just a key, we can use a string. So this is cool. So now this is the name of the method, and I will go back to the contact form, and I will pass it here as a string. And then it is expecting the arguments. What are the arguments? Let's go back there. It is basically the contact object with a name, email, and image URL. So basically the same as we were passing right here. So I will copy and paste this, and let's test it. I will close this and just check, okay, my app is running. I will open the browser and test this functionality now. So again, I will add myself, Fred at gmail.com, and just a fake image URL. If I click on save, we got an error, right? Look at this error, invoking method contacts insert. And what is saying is contacts insert not found. So why that happened? We created this method, right? So if you go back there to the contacts methods, it is here, it is defined. So what we need to do is go to the server and main.js file, because this is the entry point on the server side, and we need to import that file as well. So it is basically the same path of this, but the name of the file is contacts methods. When I hit save, Meteor will reload my server because I changed something on the server side. And if you go back there, I will clean this error, and I will try again to insert contact. And let's see how it goes. Save. Whoa, seems that it worked. Let me remove myself from here. So yeah, I am there. Just the image is not showing properly because I just put a fake URL, but it is there. It is working. So if we go back to the code and review what we just did, on the contact form, we are not using the collection anymore. So we can actually remove this line, and we can also remove the import from here and save it. So now we are calling a method and its name is contacts insert. We are passing these arguments and this method is defined on this file, contacts methods. How we did that? Meteor methods receives an object. We defined a name, the arguments, and then what this method does. And then we also added to the main JS file because Meteor needs to be aware that this file needs to be imported. So that's it. It is working, but not quite properly yet. Why not? Well, let's try something. We have our form and we don't have any kind of validation yet. So what if I try to save with the fields all blank? It is adding something, right? Maybe all the fields empty. We could check in our database, but this is what is happening. So how do we fix that? We can validate that on the client side, and this is good because it is quicker than validating on the server side, but we should always validate on the server side. We cannot trust the client side data. So let's go back and open the contacts methods. I will close some other files so we don't get lost. So what I'm going to do here is something simple. I will just check, because if I'm adding a contact, I will check if I have at least the name of the contact, right? And if I don't, I want to throw an error. And let's see how I do that. If I don't have any value on the name, so this will return true if the name is empty or undefined or null. So if this is true, I want to throw an error. And we have actually an error from Meteor itself. That is a meteor.error. And we can pass the error and the reason and the details. So I will just pass this message. Name is required. Okay, so if this happens, it will throw an error and it won't get at this line. So it will stop the execution of the method right here. Okay, let's test it. And I think the contact form is okay. So let's go back to the browser and test it. So again, I will leave it blank and try to save. And yeah, I got an error here saying that name is required, but this is on the console, right? I should be able to get this error and present something to the user, because how they will know that the name is required. So I could try this a lot of times, but let me clean it up. And what you need to do is to add another parameter to this meteor call. So we can pass a callback function as the last parameter. And on this callback function, we can receive something called error. And we can check if we have an error. So let's do that. If I have an error, I will console log that error. And I want, for example, I want to clean up the fields, because right now, let me test it again. If I don't put the name and I just try to put the email and the image URL, then what happens is I get an error and my form is cleaned. So I don't want to do that if I have an error. So if I have it, I will print it out. If I don't, I will clean the form. So let's just save it and test it on this way. I will clean this and let me try again. So I will put my email and try to save it. Okay, now you see we didn't clean the form, and we have the error on the console. So we need to present this to the user, right? We could do something like, and before that, let's understand the structure of the error. So we have an object with the error where it is the message that we are showing, the validation message. And we have an error type. We have another property saying that is client safe. But what matters to me right now is this, the error message. So I will actually call this error response because there is a property called error, and I will print the error. So this is just myself trying to understand the error response. I will close this and save it. So again, let's try it, save. Okay, it is showing just what I want. And then we can do whatever we want with this. So I could, for example, show alert to the user. So error response.error, and instead of printing to the console, the user will be able to see it. So let's test it now. Save. Okay, name is required. It is working. Well, let's see if it's working. Let's put the name Fred2 at 2 at gmail.com and fred2.png and save it. Okay, I am here. It looks good. So if I don't fill the name, I can see this message. If I fill it, it is saving. It looks better now, but let's present something prettier because we are using Tailwind, right? And this is just the full alert from Chrome itself. So let's change that.